In the next sentence, we have the phrase, who art in heaven. And our Father, of course, as we know, is present in all places, filling all things, the treasury of blessings, the giver of life. So we know that God is present in all places. But when we think about heaven, it's important to think about how that image looks like to us. Because in the Orthodox Church, it is both a place or in a state of existence. And so we don't differentiate between the two. Rather, we have a totalitarian, a holistic view of what heaven is. In order to be a little bit more specific and a little bit more general, all at the same time, St. Maximus the Confessor gives us a beautiful image of how to take both the idea of it being a place, but also just being around God himself. And what St. Maximus the Confessor tells us is that being in heaven is being so close to God that we can embrace him. We are so close to him that we can hug him. Being in hell is being so far away from God that we don't even feel his presence, which is technically impossible. But because we have free will, we have the freedom to take ourselves away from God and to not be present to him or have him be present to us. We have that complete freedom. And the way that we live in this life is the way that our soul is going to exist in the afterlife. Because if our soul spends 80 years living distantly from God, having no communion with him, having no interactions with him, then that same soul will have that same experience after death, or the foretaste of that experience after death. Whereas if we live completely close to God, if we live in communion with him, if we are constantly embracing him through the life of the church, the life that the church gives us, then we of course will experience that same thing after death, because our soul will be so close to God. And of course we see this in the saints. The saints spent all their time, their life, their witness, being close to God. Think of somebody like a martyr. They lost their life for the sake of God. That's an extreme intimacy, very close to God. Whereas somebody who spends their whole life being far away from God will not have that same option. Obviously, God is merciful and loving, and so anything can happen, right? We don't know at the end what that judgment will be like, but we also believe that God is merciful and loving, and that he will take into account everything that we do, including our spirit, our ethos, and our innermost intentions. Please keep in mind that this image of God is one that we should keep in the forefront of our mind when we are teaching this particular subject.